The baby on the bus go win, win, win all through the time. What is that hanging from me? A booger.
And I am deeply sorry. I didn't mean to prolong this case for 3 years, but I also wanted to fight for my life to prove that I am not what these charges say I am. I have to live with this my entire life.
It started with a text message. A mother, Taylor, is working a late shift at a restaurant, doing what she has to do to provide for her baby boy. Then her phone buzzes. It's the babysitter. She's telling Taylor that her son, her 22-month-old son, woke up from his nap, wandered into the bathroom, and started eating a bar of soap. And Taylor, like any exhausted young mother would, she half laughed it off. Terrible twos, she thought. He's just being a toddler. But something wasn't right. Because not long after that text came a phone call, and the babysitter's voice had changed. Moments later, emergency services were rushing to a quiet apartment building in Roseville, Michigan. Inside, they found a little boy, not even 2 years old, with injuries no fall could explain, injuries no bar of soap could explain. What investigators would uncover over the weeks and months that followed was something that would shake that entire community to its core, because the person entrusted with that little boy's life had become the very thing he needed protection from. Welcome to Real True Crime 24/7. May you and your family stay safe wherever you are. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, because we bring you the parts the media never reported.
Y'all cannot fit on that bike. Get off of that bike.
His name was Kyrie Starks, 22 months old, not yet 2 years on this earth. By all accounts, Kyrie was exactly what you'd expect from a little boy on the edge of his second birthday. Curious, energetic, and full of that fearless toddler energy that exhausts you and delights you at the exact same time. His mother, Taylor Starks, described him the way only a mother can. He was her whole world, her reason, the thing that made every late shift, every sacrifice, every hard day worth it. And Taylor worked hard. She was doing restaurant shifts to keep the bills paid, keep a roof over their heads, keep Kyrie fed and safe. She was doing everything right. But doing everything right doesn't always protect you from the wrong people walking into your life. Roseville, Michigan, a working-class suburb just north of Detroit. The kind of neighborhood where people look out for each other, or at least that's the idea. In March of 2022, Taylor moved from Warren to Roseville, settling into an apartment on Little Mac Avenue, south of 13 Mile Road. It didn't take long before she met her upstairs neighbor. Her name was Kimora Hodges, 22 years old. She lived in the apartment directly above Taylor with her boyfriend, and on the surface, she seemed friendly, approachable, someone Taylor could rely on. That proximity turned into a friendship, and that friendship turned into something Taylor genuinely needed, someone to watch Kyrie while she worked. It seemed like a solution, a blessing, even. The building was right there. Kimora was right upstairs. Taylor could check in easily. Kyrie would be in a familiar place with someone who knew him. No one in that building, not Taylor, not the neighbors, not anyone, could have imagined what was about to happen. June 13th, 2022. Taylor headed out to work her shift at a restaurant in East Point. Kyrie stayed behind with Kimora. A normal enough arrangement. She'd done it before. The night seemed to start quietly. Then Taylor's phone buzzed. A text from Kimora. Taylor, I'm sorry, but this might be my last time watching Kyrie. I put them for a nap because they both was crying when we came from outside, and I also went to sleep, but I wake up just now, and he in the bathroom eating a bar of dial soap. He won't spit it out, and he just chewing on it, not listening, man. No matter what, when I go to sleep, he feel the need to be sneaky. Taylor read it. She wasn't alarmed, not yet. Her boy was almost 2. He got into things, she knew that. She texted back calmly, explaining the terrible twos, asking Kimora to be a little patient with him. I don't think he trying to be sneaky, really he just a toddler boy. I don't want him to ever become a burden to someone or stress somebody else out. And then Kimora replied with something that, in hindsight, should have been a warning sign. Girl, I know he a kid, but he too smart, And sometimes you be too soft on him. He can't be doing that with me though, 'cause I was raised very different and also strict. When I catch him doing things he know not to do, it does bother me. A 22-month-old child, being described as too smart, as sneaky, as someone who needed to be handled with strictness. He wasn't even 2 years old.
He just have a type of energy where you come around him, you automatically feels better.
And then, just before 2 in the morning, Kimora sent Taylor a photo. In that photo, Kyrie's eye was swollen shut. Moments later, the phone call. Taylor didn't wait. She left work immediately and raced home. By the time she got there, emergency services had already been called. But it wasn't Taylor who called them. It was Kimora. Emergency responders arrived at the Little Mac Avenue apartment in the early hours of June 14th. What they found stopped them cold. Kyrie Starks, not yet 2 years old, was in a critical state. The injuries he had sustained were not the kind that come from a toddler getting into mischief. They were not the result of eating soap. They were not a fall or an accident or anything a child could do to himself. Medical staff would later document a subdural hemorrhage, bleeding on the brain. Bilateral retinal hemorrhages, bleeding behind both eyes. These are the kinds of injuries associated with violent, forceful trauma. Kyrie was rushed to hospital. He was alive, but only just. Taylor stood in that hospital looking at her son and tried to process what she was being told. This wasn't an allergic reaction to soap. Something had happened to her boy. Something had been done to him. And the person who'd been alone with him was still offering explanations. By 7:50 in the morning on June 14th, just hours after that emergency call, the Roseville Police Department made their move. Kimora Hodges was arrested. Detective Sergeant Minas Hustolakis led the interrogation. Kimora sat across from investigators, and in that room, something began to crack. She expressed remorse. She cried. And then she said something that investigators would not forget. "That's not what was supposed to happen." Let that sit for a moment. That's not what was supposed to happen. Not, "I don't know what you're talking about." Not, "I wasn't there." Not, "I didn't do anything." Later in that same interview, still sobbing, she said, "Maybe I hit him too hard. But I didn't take my anger out on him." Maybe she hit him too hard. A 22-month-old child. As investigators dug deeper, the picture that emerged of Kimora Hodges became more and more troubling. Here was someone who had described a toddler as sneaky, as too smart, as something that bothered her when he didn't comply. She had openly told Taylor she was raised very different and strict, as if that were a warning, as if she were drawing a line. Kyrie was almost 2 years old. He wasn't being defiant, he wasn't disrespecting anyone. He was a toddler doing exactly what toddlers do. But in Kimora's world, that wasn't acceptable. And when no one was watching, when Taylor was working that late shift and Kyrie was entirely in Kimora's care, something snapped. The medical evidence was damning. Subdural hemorrhage, bilateral retinal hemorrhages. Forensic experts were clear. These injuries did not happen by accident. They did not happen because a toddler wandered into a bathroom and ate soap. They happened because Kyrie Starks was subjected to violent, forceful physical trauma. And then, there were Kimora's own words. Words she spoke in that interrogation room that she could not take back. "That's not what was supposed to happen. Maybe I hit him too hard." For investigators, those words were not ambiguous. But the legal road ahead would not be simple. What happened on the night of June 13th in that Roseville apartment was this. Kimora Hodges, frustrated, impatient, with a toddler she described as sneaky and too much to handle, physically assaulted Kyrie Starks. After injuring him severely, she did not call for help. Instead, she sent a text. A carefully worded text about soap, about a toddler being sneaky, about this might be her last time watching him. She crafted a story, a diversion, something that would explain away whatever Taylor would see when she came home. But you cannot fabricate away a subdural hemorrhage. You cannot explain away injuries consistent with violent force. And you cannot take back the words you speak when you're sitting across from a detective, and the weight of what you've done starts pressing down on you.
She sent me a text of my baby face bruised, like his whole side of his face was bruised up. Like, it'd be kind of touching for me to tell the story, especially since I'm pregnant, my hormones is high. So she sent me a picture of my baby face, like really bruised up and beat up. And I'm just looking like, what the heck? She was like, I think he's having an allergic reaction from the soap I had to dig out his mouth earlier. As I got there, I ran straight into the apartment, straight upstairs. And when I walked in the apartment, I see my baby laying on her kitchen floor. Mind you, when she sent me the picture of my baby, he was in the bed. She sent me a picture of when I walked in, I see my baby just laying on the kitchen floor, just twitching like he was having like seizures, whatever. And one of his eyes was like popped out, like it was, and I'm screaming his name like, Kyrie, 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 mommy here, Kyrie, Kyrie, Kyrie. And he's not responding to me at all. And
Kyrie lived for about a week after that night. 1 week in a hospital with no brain activity, while his mother sat by his side and tried to comprehend how the neighbor she trusted had done this to her son. And then he was gone.
I never had allergies myself, and I know how serious allergic reactions can be. Like, people die every day from allergic reactions. So I'm thinking like his face was just swelled up because he was really like having a real allergic reaction. And that didn't click to me that this girl was just beating on my child, because I would have never thought she would do that to my kid. She got a daughter herself, and I told y'all in the previous parts how good she really was to my son until I started noticing little things, and I feel like it was overwhelming for her. That's why I started including other people to watch my kid just as much as she was. But I would have never thought in a million years she would put her hands on my kid. So mind you, like I told you, I was like 15, 20 doctors in there trying to work on my son. So one of the doctors come in with the chaplain people, and they would just tell me like, yeah, these are signs of child abuse, and his brain is like swelling really, really bad by the moment and bleeding. Like he got to have surgery to be able to stop the bleeding so the swelling can go down. And when they told me that, y'all, like I'm telling y'all right now, that's why I don't like to talk, because I be about to cry. But when they told me that, I really started losing and going crazy, because I'm like, child abuse. My baby brain is swelling, and I don't know doctors and stuff like that, but I know Grey's Anatomy. So I know like when something like that is really serious going on, it's a chance that like they're dying. So when they told me that, I automatically was thinking like, oh my God, something is wrong with my baby. Something is wrong with my baby. My baby not gonna be the same. But
The interrogation of Kimora Hodges would itself become the subject of a lengthy legal battle, one that delayed justice by years. During questioning, at one point, Kimora made a statement indicating she might want a lawyer, but she conditioned it. She said, in effect, that she'd only want one if charges were being pressed. Prosecutors argued her statements were admissible. Her defense argued her rights had been violated, that the moment she mentioned an attorney, questioning should have stopped. The case wound through Michigan's court system. The Court of Appeals examined her words line by line. Ultimately, they ruled that one of her statements had to be suppressed, but the core admissions could still be used. Those words she'd spoken in that room, maybe I hit him too hard, those were not going away. 3 years after Kyrie's death, Kimora Hodges finally stood trial in Macomb County Circuit Court in Mount Clemens. Before Judge Diane Druzinski, the prosecution, led by Assistant Prosecutors Lisa Lawson and Mark Laws, laid out the full picture. The medical evidence, the text messages, the interrogation admissions. The defense, led by attorney Marielle Lehman, argued the statements had been improperly obtained and challenged the interpretation of events. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Less than 3 hours to reach a verdict on a case that had taken 3 years to get to trial. On July 31, 2025, Kimora Hodges was found guilty. Guilty of first-degree felony murder. Guilty of first-degree child abuse. On November 4, 2025, Judge Druzinski sentenced her to the only sentence the law allows for first-degree felony murder: life in prison, without the possibility of parole.
And I am deeply sorry. I didn't mean to prolong this case for 3 years, but I also wanted to fight for my life to prove that I am not what these charges say I am. I have to live with this my entire life.
On count 2, the felony murder, you are sentenced to the Department of Corrections for a period of life.
Yeah, I'm gonna come see that.
For Kyrie, who never got to see his second birthday, It was the closest thing to justice the legal system could offer. Taylor Starks had to rebuild herself from nothing. In the days and weeks after Carrie died, she shared her grief online, the only outlet she had. On July 12, 2022, nearly a month after losing her son, she posted something that stayed with everyone who read it. The day Kyrie died, I became somebody new. A totally different person. Someone I never knew. I cry more than I ever did. I break down quite a lot. My heart hurts every day. The pain will never stop. A mother gives her child life, and a love unlike no other. When that is taken all away, she then becomes a grieving mother. There are no words adequate to the weight of that. A mother who did everything she could, who worked late nights to provide, who trusted a neighbor, trusted someone close to keep her baby safe while she did. And that trust cost Kyrie everything. The Roseville community felt it. A neighborhood that thought it knew itself had to reckon with the fact that terrible things can happen in quiet apartments on ordinary streets. Macomb County Prosecutor Peter J. Lucido said after sentencing, "The defendant's actions resulted in the tragic death of an innocent child, and the court's sentence of life without parole holds her fully accountable." But accountability, as Taylor knows better than anyone, doesn't bring him back. Kyrie Starks never got to turn 2. He never got to finish growing out of those terrible twos his mother smiled about in that text. He never got to run or fall or laugh or drive his mom crazy the way only a toddler can. Because someone who was supposed to protect him, someone his mother trusted completely, decided that a baby being a baby was something she couldn't tolerate. And she made a choice that cannot be undone. Kimora Hodges will spend the rest of her life in prison. But in a quiet corner of Michigan, a mother still wakes up every day as someone she never expected to become. A grieving mother. For Kyrie, may you rest in peace, little one. And for Taylor, may time, somehow, be gentle with you. Thank you for watching Real True Crime 24/7. If you found this case interesting, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more real true crime stories just like this. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a new case. Thanks again for watching Real True Crime 24/7.
Okay, y'all, this is part 3 on how I lost my son. I really could have finished this story yesterday, but I felt myself like getting too emotional. So I didn't want to really keep talking about it. And then, like I said, I'm pregnant. So I be nesting and I be resting all day long. So I really just got up and started getting active because I was just asleep. But this is part 3 of how I lost my son. So I ended part 2 on saying, like, they finally started telling me what's going on. So after I got hold of Diamond, and now that's what I'm saying, now that I could look back at what was going on in the situation, like, they don't just be putting anybody in a chapel room and won't tell you what's going on. So that's how I knew that it ended up starting to be something serious, because why am I in the chapel room talking to, like, the church people and stuff at the hospital? So that's when I really started realizing that it was more of a serious situation than a allergic reaction. So after I called Diamond, they seen that I had family and stuff that's going to be on their way, because, of course, Diamond was going to start calling people herself. They was like, well, the doctors is looking over him and stuff right now, and these are serious signs of child abuse. Who was he with this night? Because, like I said, y'all know I was at work. So I'm asking them, like, child abuse. Of course, I seen all the bruises and my son eye popped out. Like, I seen all that on his face. But like I said, I never had allergies myself, and I know how serious allergic reactions can be. Like, people die every day from allergic reactions. So I'm thinking, like, his face was just swelled up because he was really, like, having a real allergic reaction. And that didn't click to me that this girl was just beating on my child, because I would have never thought she would do that to my kid. She got a daughter herself, and I told y'all in the previous parts how good she really was to my son, until I started noticing little things, and I feel like it was overwhelming for her. That's why I started including other people to watch my kid just as much as she was. But I would have never thought in a million years she would put her hands on my kid. So mind you, like I told you, I was like 15, 20 doctors in there trying to work on my son. So one of the doctors come in with the chaplain people, and they would just tell me, like, yeah, these are signs of child abuse, and his brain is, like, swelling really, really bad by the moment and bleeding. Like, he got to have surgery to be able to stop the bleeding so the swelling can go down. And when they told me that, y'all, like, I'm telling y'all right now, that's why I don't like to talk, because I be about to cry. But when they told me that, I really started losing and going crazy, because I'm like, child abuse. My baby brain is swelling, and I don't know doctors and stuff like that, but I know Grey's Anatomy. So I know, like, when something like that is really serious going on, it's a chance that like, they're dying. So when they told me that, I automatically was thinking, like, oh my God, something is wrong with my baby. Something is wrong with my baby. My baby not going to be the same. But I wasn't really tripping as much as they was until I talked to the surgeon. So, like, an hour go by, the surgeon comes into the chaplain room, and now that, like I said, I gotta keep saying, now that I can look back at it, I really held, like, a type of hurt feelings in my heart towards the surgeon that did my son's surgery, because the lack of emotions he was showing. But I gotta remember, like, the type of surgeon he is, and that he's working on kids, like, they don't have time to be trying to be there for you and your emotions, because they got to be there for you with your kid in the surgery room. So when he came and told me what he told me, it was just so cold, and he just told me straightforward. Like, he told me, like, I'm about to take your son into immediate surgery right now, or he's going to die before the night is over with. And if I do be able to save him, there's a 100% chance possibility he's going to be paralyzed for the rest of his life. He won't be the same ever again. And when they told me that, like, of course, like I said, I was scared of my baby. I was losing my baby. But when they told me, like, even if they was able to save him, that he would have never been the same again. And I'm thinking, like, I know my son. Like, my son was so well advanced for 1 year old. Like, y'all be seeing the videos I be posting of him. Like, my son was so advanced for his age. So y'all telling me that my little boy, my little baby is never going to be the same again? Like, what are y'all talking about? And when they tell me that, like, I'm telling y'all, I really lost it. Y'all know in the movies when people just fall down and they just cry, like, that's really how it was. And it wasn't even on nothing dramatic or something. Like, I just felt every breath of my body just like I could not breathe. I could not believe that was happening. And I told you, I still haven't even seen my son, because they put me out of the little trauma room, put me in the chaplain room. And by this time, just like 3 hours then went by since I last seen my son. So I'm like, what? Like, y'all telling me, like, and I'm like, can I even see him before he go to surgery? Because the surgery is supposed to be 5 hours long. And they was like, if he make it through the surgery, then he gonna have, like, a long recovery time. But it's a chance he won't even make it through the surgery. So I'm like, what? I gotta be able to see my baby before he go to surgery, because what if I don't never get to see him again, like, alive? Like, even though he wasn't really alive in that moment, I still, like, what if I never get the chance to see my baby again, kiss my baby again, nothing? So after the surgeon told me that, they took me, and by this time, Kyrie grandma on his dad's side was there, and his aunties on his dad's side had got there. So it was me, Diamond, them on her dad's side, and they finally took us up to where the pediatric surgeon stuff trauma part is, and they started rolling him to surgery, and they was able to stop him for like 30 seconds so I could be able to see my baby before he go into surgery. So they was able to stop him, and I just see my baby. When I seen him, he had all these a tube, like a breathing tube and everything. So it's like I was able to see my baby, but it was like, this is not my baby. Like, this is really, like. So they took him to surgery. They put us all in this waiting room. So we wait in there. And I'm just sitting there crying, like, because I'm still in such disbelief. Like, I'm really losing my baby. Like, my 1 year old son is in surgery right now. Like, what the heck? Like, so they finally put us to this little smaller room, because I was in a waiting room, surgery room with everybody else in the hospital that was waiting on somebody to get their surgery. But they finally moved me into, like, a smaller room with just me and my family to, like, try to get some insight. And this when the detectives start popping up, the police, and everybody so when the police and stuff got there, I'm asking them, like, what's going on? Have y'all talked to her? And I'm showing them my phone, because Before I got to the hospital and when I first got there, like I told y'all, my phone is dead. So when my phone turned on, she was blowing up my phone, blowing up my Instagram DMs, blowing up my phone, texting like, Taylor, is he okay? Taylor, is he okay? Keep me updated. I can't believe I let this happen in my care. I just want to make sure he's okay. I didn't think he would get into no soap like that. She just still blowing up my phone like that, blowing up my phone like that. So I'm asking the officers and the detectives that when they put us in this little smaller room, like, what's going on? Have y'all talked to her? This and that. They was like, no, we have not talked to her yet because after you left and we found out that, when you got to the hospital and stuff and we seen that it was child abuse, they sent, like, the police cars and everybody over there to the apartment, and she had barricaded herself into the apartment for 2 whole hours. So they had to call, I don't know if they called the real SWAT team, but they called somebody like that type of team to break down the door because she barricaded herself in the apartment. She wouldn't open the doors to let nobody in. At first, they was just trying to talk. Like, they was going to take her to jail, of course, but they was just like, now you really showing us that you really did something because why is you barricading yourself into the apartment? So that's when the police told me that, and I showed them, like I said, I showed them the message. They was like, don't respond to her. Don't do nothing because we trying to get her out of this apartment right now because that was during the time she was still barricaded, whatever the case might have been. So after that, it's like, I told you I got to my son like 1 in the morning. Now it's like 6, 7 in the morning. I'm laying down. Everybody telling me like, get some rest, get some sleep, get some rest, get some sleep. But how can I get some rest and some sleep when my baby is in surgery? So I couldn't sleep. So finally, I got the first update from somebody that was in the surgery with him, and they was telling me like, he's still here, he's still doing fine. They was like, your baby is really a fighter. They still working on him. They still trying to get the bleeding to stop right now. So we got to see. We about to still just try to work and try to see if we could get some of the swelling out. So when they told me that, I'm like, okay, that's a little good news. Like, his brain is not swelling at the moment, and they trying to stop the bleeding. So I'm like, at least my baby's still fighting. Like, for a 1-year-old to be in surgery, that's what I said. The surgery's supposed to be like 5 hours. He probably been in surgery about 2 hours now. For my baby to be in surgery for 2 hours and he still was just fighting, like, that lets me know. That's what gave me the faith that I have. Like, okay, my baby fighting. I can't give up on him yet because my baby is still literally fighting. I don't know why it's taking me so long to tell the story, but I'm about to do a part 4, but I'm about to post this now because y'all been begging for part 3. I'm sorry I'm pregnant and I've been asleep all day.